Hello there, good morning. I trust your night was fine. It's Friday over here, and welcome to this Photoshop basics. Okay, so far since we started on Monday, today is the 5th day, and one thing I want to encourage somebody who hasn't been following or who is following but just in a gradual process, because I'm going through the basics and I'm taking it very slow. Like anybody who just want to learn can easily learn it very well. Okay, I want you to understand that I'm doing this on purpose for the sake of beginners. Okay, I have looked out there and there seems not to be anything so foundational like this. Okay, I follow a lot of Photoshop tutors, but most of them are they are like, before you can follow them you just need this background. So this is me creating a background before you can follow anybody you want to follow and grow. All right, so there's room to grow, and if you think I'm too slow, well, pardon me, but there are persons who are needing this slow. Okay, and that's why I'm going this slow. All right, and the last class, okay, we talked about tools and its functions, and I'm sure because the class dropped today, I scheduled it to drop today, I'm sure that if you follow that class up until this class, you will understand a lot of things. I didn't want to take tools, just talk about the tools and not talk about its functions. I demonstrated in that class, and that's why it's slow. So we have a lot of tools to talk about, but from the last class, I'm wise enough to know that we are going to take this maybe like three or four, and we might have tools and its functions up to part 4 or part 5, however it may be. But don't worry, you won't get bored at any point. I'm sure you will enjoy the class. So let's go into the class right now. All right, so the last class we talked about the rectangle marquee tool, which is M, but we didn't talk about the elliptical. And I said once we have a shortcut that are similar, M, similar, what you need to do is you hold on the shift key and press M again, and you get to the next two. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. All right, so elliptical marquee tool is from the word ellipse, which is circle. Okay, and it's same thing. What it does is under the selection category. Okay, in fact, everything we're talking about today is under the selection category up onto object selection too. They are just selections, and we use the elliptical marquee to kind of select something that is round. Okay, round. Let's use the word round, not perfect circle. It mustn't be perfect circle. It must even be oval. It just needs to be round, and we can make a selection from it. Okay, we can use the rectangle because in cases where it's round. Let me look for an example. Not this one now. Not this one now. Yeah, this one. Okay, in this case, we cannot use the rectangle because we will end up creating a lot of spaces we don't want, all the spaces we don't want. But when we use the round tool, I mean the elliptical marquee tool, we deselect, Ctrl D, we can be able to create this roundness that we are creating. Don't worry, you understand how I'm doing all this, okay? But just so you know that the functions of these tools differs. One tool can function very well on a particular project, but on another project it sucks. But that doesn't mean it is out of place. Photoshop has a reason why those tools are there. All right, so let's go over this. All right, there are some things or tips and tricks that I might bring up like a class. Okay, I'll just bring it up as a class for this week. All right, but I want you all to get ready because this weekend we're going to have a lot to do in the Telegram group. So that means if you've not joined the Telegram group, please join, because this weekend we're going to have one or two things to do for the weekend. All right, so let's go over it now. The clock we have here is round, so we're going to use the elliptical Marquee 2. Let me deselect it now and just click and drag. Okay, now when you click and drag, you will notice that it's off somehow. So you hold down the space bar. When you hold down the space bar, you can move it all around, and you are still holding down your mouse button. Okay, you've not released your mouse button and you can move it all around. The minute you release your mouse button, you will not be able to move it around again. Okay, so you have to be careful to drop it, and to also take note of if it's covering entirely. You must not be perfect, but you just need to try. Okay, but let's see. Let me release. At this point, I want to release my space bar and try to adjust the drawing, still holding down the click button, and somewhere around there I feel it's okay. Okay, we have some spaces around there. It's obvious that there will definitely be spaces, but so far we've been able to at least draw a selection, a round selection of this. Okay, the other parts of this clock we may not need this elliptical selection, but we have been able to do something, and we could refine this later on. Okay, but so far we have been able to do something, and it's, I mean, for me, like way into selection, we have done 70% of the selection of this object. Okay, one thing again is that just like the last class, there are these 4 icons that I talked about, and I said that the first one is new selection, the second one is add to selection, the third subtract selection, the fourth intersect selection. Okay, these 4, I had explained it, and I said if we were to add to selection while using these 2, we need to select. But if we need to select add to selection, but if we don't want to and want to make a new selection, immediately we draw over it, the old selection is out. Let me undo. So we have our old selection, but when we press the add to selection and want another round object, we can easily just try to, get it right. It's not properly right, but you just get the idea anyway. I have added that part to the selection, so it will take another 2 to remove all the excesses I don't want there. Okay, then the other one is subtract from selection. I could actually use that to maybe subtract some part of this, maybe like this, and subtract that part just like that, and it's subtracted. Intersect, I don't want to play with intersect here, because once you play with intersect, I mean, some part to be gone, but you have to go back to the last class to try to use to understand how the intersect work. But there's something I want to explain to us today, and it's the next one for me. It's feathering. Okay, how does feather works? I want you to from the word feather is just like the bird that has a feather. The feather part, I mean, the edge of that feather is always very soft, and it's almost sometimes like you can hardly hold it because it's so soft, unlike when you push your hands into the feather. I don't have a feather here to illustrate to you, so I just want you to imagine a feather at the edges is soft, okay, but inside of it, it's hard because it has a stem in between. Okay, so when Photoshop says feather here, it's actually talking about the edges being soft. Okay, and how I'm going to explain this is I'm going to create a new artboard. Okay, an artboard. Now inches, let's do 5.5 and press. Oh, I saw 72 instead of 300. Remember, I think this is the first class or second class where I explained this. Okay, Photoshop is calculating it. That's what happens when you create small artboard and want to change the big artboard. Okay, so here I'm going to create a new I just want to explain this further so you understand what's happening here. Create a new artboard, and with the elliptical marquee tool, I draw a selection, and I'm going to fill it with black. Select black, and that's it. I deselect, select menu, deselect, and I have a circle. Okay, I create another object, and I select the elliptical marquee tool again. Once you have selected it before, I mean, if it's the last tool you used under that category, once you press M, it becomes the first thing that shows up. So take note of that. But when you need the rectangle, once you just press M, you need to press Shift M to go back to it. So let's draw an elliptical marquee tool here on this layer 3, and this time around I'm going to put feather 25. Okay, then go to, I think it's Edit, Fill. The shortcut is Shift F5 and click OK again. What's happening? Is the feather too small? Let's see what's going on. Okay, maybe I need to since we have 25 here, let's drag now. Okay, then fill it in. This time around I hope it works. Shift F5. Yeah, okay. Because I put the 25 before drawing. Okay, I normally don't use it this way anyway. This is the way I go over it. There's another method, but we've not taught that aspect, so I don't want to go into it. So feather here, I put feather. Okay, one thing I did, maybe I should go over this again. Let me go over it for the sake of learners. I don't want people to be lost. What did I do? I selected the elliptical marquee tool, and I created, and I put feather 25 pixels there and created this. Okay, on a new layer, I filled it in from edit menu, select the layer, edit menu, fill, and press OK, and it filled in. But because the feathers is 25, so you see soft edges. Now if the feathers were 0, and I select the elliptical marquee tool is still selected, and I select, let me just put it around here. Okay, put a new layer now, and I fill it in again, black. So you see now we have 2 circles here, but one is looking very sharp at the edges while the other one is looking soft at the edges. So this is a function of feather. Anywhere you see feather around Photoshop, this is what they mean. Anywhere at all, even when we come to masking, when we come to brushing, this is feather. This is just feather. Okay, this is the understanding of feather. Alright, so that's what that feather means. Okay, I leave it at 0 because I don't use it from that way. I have another way of using it if I want to. Alright, so that's the elliptical marquee tool. Alright, if you have any questions on this, you can ask me on the Telegram group. Then the next one is a lasso tool. The lasso tool. Okay, the lasso tool is L. Let's go for it because I see that what is active is the polygonal lasso tool. What is the one I want? Lasso tool. So once I have lasso tool selected, let's see what it does. For this, I'm going to look for a picture. Okay, let's continue with this. On this now, it's just the same thing. We have a new selection, we had add selection, we have subtract selection, we have intersect selection. So but what this is like a freehand, like you are just using your mouse like a biro or a pencil. Okay, this is just a freehand. So but I'm going to put it on add. And remember in the last class I talked about when you have it on add and you want to use the subtract, you hold an alt. The icon changes, the icon there changes to minus. I hope you can see that. If I release the alt key, the icon changes back to plus, which is add. Okay, and if you have it on the subtract and you want it on the plus, you hold on shift, it changes to plus. You release the shift key, it changes back to minus. But I always like to use Alt a lot because Alt is used in so many things. You know, AI, you like Alt, AE, Alt. So I prefer to have it in Add so that I can use Alt. I hardly remember saying that if it's in Subtract, I have to use Shift. So that's why I like to have it on Add. I mean, my default settings is not new. It's Add for me. That's for my default settings. All right. So now, let's try to work on this. Because it's a freehand, it means that we can draw anything and to make selection. You see, you can draw anything and to make selection, to just turn it into a selection, just like that. Okay, so let's undo that. And so what can we do here? I want to remove these edges gradually, just like that, the way I'm tracing it with my hands. So I'll just hold an Alt once. Once I have clicked and held down, I can release my Alt key. So it will just obey whatever I'm doing. And don't worry, my hands are not straight. I know this is not actually the best tool for this kind of work, but just because it's tutorial, so that's why we're training ourselves to do it. I didn't hold on the Alt there, so I undo. I hold on the Alt and I start tracing. I can release my Alt key. I trace until I get to the end, then I can release the mouse key, and that's it. So if I want to add these areas, I don't need to hold on the Alt. Is already on Add. You see, that's the advantage of having it on Add. Okay, Add. Hold on the Alt for Subtract, and there we have it. Here, hold on the Alt for Subtract. Here, Add, and that's it. So I can just decide to add all these places and it will add to it. Okay, but you know, we're trying to make this thing not take a lot of time, and so it's just the same thing. We have feather too, just as we have in other places, and that's it. All right, so that is that. And the next two is Polygona. Okay, we're gonna come to where we use the pen tool. I think that if you combine the effort of the Lasso tool and the Polygonal tool, you might just arrive at a pen tool. Somehow, it's just my own personal thought, but you know, pen tool for me is like the best. So, but they try to make, I feel that they try to make Lasso tool and Polygonal tool like to emulate pen tool, but act differently. Because what do I mean by that? Lasso tool is freehand, but Polygonal tool is really not freehand. It's just like a trace. Okay, there's this kind of a game we play when we're younger with a coin. We just put a paper over the coin. Yeah, that's how you know that I'm quite old. So put the paper over the coin, 1 naira coin or 50 kobo coin, and begin to use pencil to shade it, and it emulates something like that. So it's tracing, like, you know, we're doing kind of tracing. So Polygonal here, we're just kind of doing a trace of something, and we have the lines following us. That's one thing. So let's quit talking, let's do it. Shift L. I didn't want to just go there, but Shift L. All right, so Shift L. I have a building I want to use for that. Yeah, this building. So because this is the kind of thing where Polygonal to work very well. Okay, if I want to make a selection of the sky, because I want to change the color of the sky, okay, I have to make a selection around it. So what I can do is I can take the Polygonal tool. Okay, if it's on, I think it's better to be on Add. We've gone over that. So let's take from this point. It's very good to zoom your work. So I take it from this part, I take it over here, I take it there, and you can see it's following me just like that. Just like that. You can zoom forward with your scroll wheel. You can zoom with your scroll wheel. Then you can pan. Pan now is with your space bar held down. So if you hold down your space bar, you can pan and move down until you have what you want. See, I'm trying to be accurate there. You see, this curved edge is where pen tool is like having advantage over, because at this curved edge now, you can easily maneuver it with the pen too, but we're just going to try to be professional on it. So you see that, okay, I'm going to waste a lot of time doing this, but I think you should just understand what it's doing. Now let's assume now I have done pretty number of traces and I want to close it up. I have to come back to where I started from, and it has made a selection, F4. Alright, it has made a selection of that area, so I can continue, you know, if I zoom this picture, because this picture is it has quality, so if I zoom this picture I can continue, even though the resolution is 72 pixels. I just opened it and it's 72. I could change that, but we don't have any big deal on this. Okay, so this is how the Polygona 2 functions. Okay, so let's go back, the last two. All right, if you have not heard of AI, artificial intelligence, I think this is an opportunity for you. I'm sure you've heard, because it's all over, it's everywhere now. It's an opportunity for you to experience it in Photoshop. Photoshop has a built-in AI in this application and functions very well, especially in this particular tool. Okay, it has other places where it functions too, like the content aware. We have the content aware tools and all that. We have the functions in the menus. Okay, there are some other places where but it calculates the object and make a complete trace of that object, and sometimes it's near 90% to 95% accurate. Most times it's also dependent on the quality of the picture. If the picture is very bad, you may not have a perfect selection. And the version of Photoshop too, because 2022 is the latest. There were some features that were added in 2022 that were not there originally in 2021 and 2020, and I would say that this AI came in from 2018 version. So if you select it, let's select AW. If you select it, you will see this word select subject, this tab select subject. Almost everything here we've been through it before, but we're just going to be through it. We're going to talk about a few of them. So we have this select subject, and this select subject looks for an object on the selected layer, the object in the selected area, and makes selection out of it. Sorry, it looks for a subject in the selected area, not object now. Okay, the object could be the subject. Okay, let's go to this example. Like we have here just one layer. Okay, and if we go to the select subject and tell it to select subject, one of the things it does is, once you click on it, I'm clicking on it now, once you click on it, it's going to take its time to analyze the object and calculate and select the subject. Okay, it's like an algorithm built into it, and it's robotic. You don't do anything, you don't participate except if it's done. So once it's done, it gives you the output selection and tells you, is this actually what you want? Then if you think it's not what you want, you can control. Okay, meaning you can remove some areas and you can add some areas. But warning, the select subject requires a very high operating system, like very high. Okay, you can see it's done right now, and it has made pretty good selection of the chair. Okay, it has a very good it demands more from the system. So whenever the select subject is active, some things around the system may be slow. One, secondly, if your system is very low, it can crash the Photoshop. It can crash it if your system is very low. So if you experience lag behinds while you're making select subject, please release, just stop from doing other work. Okay, earlier that time when it just came out, what I could just do is, because I was designing CorelDRAW and I was going to trim pictures in Photoshop and bring to, so I'll just go and put select subject to be going on automatically on, you know, you can do it, actions, using actions, do it, and you come and sit down in your CorelDRAW and be doing your thing, you know. But guess what? The CorelDRAW was also lagging behind because the system was low. Okay, it was not the system I was using then, but I'm just trying to tell you that even with the improvement of Photoshop, the select subject or the AI in Photoshop, it also demands more. Like there's some function I can perform here that can't work in my other system. I just discovered that maybe this laptop is much stronger in doing the AI than in my desktop, and my desktop graphics card is very high, so I was thinking it should work. Okay, enough of the explanation, but just so that you don't think that the select subject crashes your system and it must be that maybe it's Photoshop. It's just the way it's built. It demands more power, more from your RAM. Alright, so it has made a selection of this, but there's something about 2022. When you move over other objects, 2022 suggests to you that, or are you interested in this object? Kind of like, if this is the object we're interested in, if we click on it and this new button is active, what it will do is that it will deselect this, just like other tools do, to deselect this and select this. So let's click, watch. I have clicked, it has hanged, and we are waiting for the result. Okay, so while we're waiting, one thing I want to say is that go for, if you really want to make graphics design your, you know, your calling or something, you just need to go for high system. That's one thing. Look at now, it has deselected the chair, and we have the towels that is trying to tell us if we want to select the towels. Okay, if we want any of this, we can just click on it, and you know, it's not on add to selection, so you know what that means. It will deselect the flower and this. So but let's say what we need is the chair, so let's deselect everything. Now I'm going to go over this tool here, up here. Sorry, I have a call and I want to silence my phone. I don't want, oh okay, I'm really sorry for that. I'm really sorry for that. Okay, so the rectangle here now is, this rectangle mode here is like you know, the same way we have the rectangle marquee too, and we have the lasso as a lasso marquee too. Now the rectangle is, for instance, there are many subjects in that particular layer, but we are targeting at one. So we take the rectangle and draw around that area where the object is and say make selection out of it. So it's just the same thing. So if I draw across like this, I'm giving it a limit to look at, and so once I release it, it's going to be working to calculate all the object or subject it can find around that area and give me the selection. It's the same thing as when I selected subject, but here now I'm streamlining it to do this particular thing. Alright, so this is it, has done the selection, and here we have it. So remember I said any command we want to give on this selection, if we unlock the layer, we can give to it. Okay, so this selection for us. Okay, okay. I think okay, the last thing I want to do now is a lasso. Let's see now. For the lasso, let's go back to our clock and deselect this, then select the lasso. Now the lasso I'm talking about is a lasso under this object selection tool. This is where we can find it, not the lasso here, please. Okay, so once we make selection of it, excuse me, we can just make a freehand. Hey, I made a mistake. It's going to tell me it can't find. I just clicked and released my hand. I'm supposed to draw around. Okay, so let me take that again. You see, just a rough. So what it's going to do is going to calculate just that region and give us the object it can find there. We're waiting, AI, and that's it. See, all the things we're trying to do with elliptical, lasso, two tools combined together, and even God knows if we even use more tools to achieve this. Look at object selection. Kudos to Photoshop, man. So if we come close, I clicked yes, make a selection of it. If we come close to it, we can see some lapses there, and we can change to the normal lasso tool to correct that. You need to be careful when you're using this tool. I mean, very careful. Please let me go for select subject again. This will discard your current selection. Do you want to continue? Yes, and don't show again because I know what I'm doing. Alright, so I wanted to go over that selection again to make that selection work because these areas are not selected. Alright, so AI, we are waiting. And this depends on how fast your system is. I mean, in some systems, select subjects can be very sluggish, and you will not even like that. They invented it. Okay, it has done a pretty good job, just like before. So I just go and select the lasso tool that I wanted to the other time. All right. Okay, if you feel that there are areas where you think the select subject should include, let me go back to the select subject. I think we just need to know this. We need to make sure we have add to selection active, and as this lasso is active, what it means is that I'm going to draw over the areas that it didn't collect and tell it to please pay attention to this region. So watch what will happen there. Aha, so it adds it to selection, and there are areas here where it okay, this can be actually solved without having to do, but let's see, are there other areas where I wanted to pay attention? This top here, okay, it's too small, but let's still try its power. Yeah, so it has included it, even excess is entered, so there's something we need to be careful about. So let's have all these areas, tell it to look into it again. It's still the same, so we can just correct with the lasso to the areas that needs to be corrected. Like this area was minus, no, we want it to be added. Okay, we want it to be added. Some areas, oh, this place is even, it has corrected, so these areas we need to minus, so we'll hold on the Alt and we just remove that. Okay, here we just need to add. Okay, here we need to add. Okay, just because I'm rushing, that's why I'm taking this slow. So you just need to watch it, find areas that, remember to always use your space bar to pan. It makes you very fast in moving around, navigating around this whole thing. Minus that area. Here we add. Okay, here we minus. And so from the look of it, you see that you have quite, a good one there. Okay, so, and that's it. We'll make a pretty selection. Okay, I've not said anything about mask, but just so you know that I could mask this and you have the clock without the background. And this you can use to work anywhere, no background, so free. You can just throw it into one design like that and boom, that's it. Okay, so that's the object selection tool, and I'm sure we have accomplished our mission in the selection region. So thank you very much, and thank you for those who are subscribing. I mean, this week alone I had 10 more subscribers than ever. The YouTube channel is a new YouTube channel, so thank you very much. Subscribing is like the life wire for this class, because if we have to continue on this free mode or maybe very cheap mode, I'm trying to even make it very cheap when we want to come for intermediate and advanced classes. We can have it like as low as $2, $3 for a course, and I just wanted that you get it. Okay, why I have to put a fee at some point later is so that seriousness is attached to it. When something is given out for free, even people don't value it all the time, so I'm careful about that. But I know that this basics is my my way of inviting you into this channel and make you to understand that I'm out here to give it out, and to give it out very, very well. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for participating in this basic tutorial class for Photoshop. Okay, until next class, we're talking about tools and its functions again, part 3, and we'll look into all that tools. Please stay creative. Peace.